everyone, and welcome back to the Young and the Restless channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for more daily drama updates and spoilers. Your support truly means a lot and helps our channel grow every day. Now, let's jump straight into today's exciting update. The morning sunlight filtering through the windows of Genoa City Memorial Hospital does little to ease the heavy atmosphere surrounding Jack Abbott's recovery, because even as life slowly moves forward outside, the emotional wounds left behind by Patty Williams' violent attack remain painfully fresh for everyone who loves him. Sitting quietly beside his hospital bed, Diane Jenkins gazes at Jack with overwhelming gratitude simply because he is still alive, and in that fragile moment, she gently reminds him just how deeply she loves him and how desperately she wants to spend the rest of her life by his side. Jack, however, cannot completely silence the guilt that has haunted him for years, and he quietly wonders whether the terrible attack somehow reflects the mistakes he made long ago in the way he treated Patty. His words are filled with regret rather than self-pity, revealing a man who has spent decades carrying the weight of past decisions that continue to echo into the present. Diane refuses to let him shoulder that burden alone, insisting with unwavering conviction that no mistake from the past could ever justify the violence Patty unleashed against him. Her reassurance wraps around Jack like a comforting embrace, offering him hope even as the physical pain continues before she reluctantly leaves the hospital to finally get some much-needed rest after days of fear, uncertainty, and emotional exhaustion. Not long after Diane leaves, Abbott-Newman quietly arrives at the hospital to visit her beloved uncle, hoping both to lift his spirits and to seek guidance for troubles weighing heavily on her own heart. Although Jack remains confined to his hospital bed, his wisdom has never depended on his physical strength, and he listens carefully as Abby opens up about Devin Hamilton and the growing concerns surrounding their marriage. Even while recovering from a traumatic attack, Jack naturally shifts his focus toward helping someone else, proving once again why so many people rely on him during difficult times. After Abby departs, the hospital room falls into an uneasy silence, allowing exhaustion to finally overtake Jack. Sleep comes, but it offers no peace because his dreams quickly transform into horrifying nightmares that force him to relive Patty's knife attack all over again, leaving him trapped inside terrifying memories that refuse to loosen their grip. When he finally awakens, his thoughts drift toward his late father, John Abbott, and those treasured memories become an emotional refuge, reminding Jack of the strength, compassion, and unwavering integrity that defined the man who built the Abbott legacy and inspired generations of his family. Elsewhere at the Abbott mansion, memories of John Abbott are equally alive as Ashley Abbott and Tracy Abbott reflect on the extraordinary father they were blessed to have. Their conversation carries both warmth and sadness, reminding everyone that although John is gone, the lessons he left behind continue shaping the Abbott family through every triumph and every tragedy. The emotional mood brightens considerably when Diane returns home, receiving an unexpectedly heartfelt welcome from Ashley, Tracy, and the rest of the family, a clear sign that old wounds have finally healed and genuine acceptance has replaced years of resentment. Abby also joins the gathering, and together the Abbott women capture a smiling selfie to send Jack, hoping the cheerful image reminds him that an entire family eagerly awaits his return home. That simple photograph becomes much more than just a picture. It represents hope, survival, and the promise that love continues to endure despite everything Victor Newman and Patty Williams have thrown at them. For the first time since the nightmare began, there is a sense that healing may truly be possible. Meanwhile, Billy Abbott finds himself reflecting on just how close the family came to suffering an unimaginable loss as he congratulates Kyle Abbott for risking everything to save Diane's life during Patty's violent rampage. Billy's admiration for his nephew is sincere, but their conversation soon grows far more emotional as he admits that Jack has always been much more than an older brother to him. Because of their significant age difference, Jack often filled the role of a father figure, guiding Billy through childhood and adulthood with patience that Billy rarely appreciated at the time. He openly acknowledges that jealousy consumed him when Kyle entered Jack's life, leading him to act out in ways he deeply regrets today. It is an unusually vulnerable confession from Billy, one filled with honesty and maturity, but even as he apologizes for the mistakes of his past, he cannot ignore the dangerous path Kyle now seems determined to follow. Billy warns him that seeking revenge against Victor Newman may feel justified, but it is also a road capable of destroying everyone who walks it. Kyle listens carefully to every warning, yet his resolve never wavers because the images of his father lying wounded in a hospital bed and his mother nearly losing her life continue burning inside his mind. To Kyle, Victor Newman crossed a line that can never be forgiven by bringing Patty Williams back into their lives and setting into motion the chain of events that almost destroyed the Abbott family forever. Billy understands that anger all too well, admitting that Victor's relentless manipulation played a major role in destroying his own relationship with Victoria Newman, largely because the Newman family has spent decades excusing Victor's behavior instead of holding him accountable. Encouraged by Billy's experience, Kyle asks for advice and even hopes his uncle might become an ally in whatever comes next. Yet Billy reluctantly refuses, explaining that Sally Spectra is expecting their child and he cannot afford to drag his growing family into an all-out war against Victor. Kyle respects Billy's decision without resentment, but he makes one thing crystal clear before walking away. No matter who joins him or who refuses, he will not stop until Victor Newman pays for everything he has done to Jack and Diane. As a new day begins, the conflict rapidly intensifies when Victor personally confronts Kyle, issuing what sounds less like friendly advice and far more like a direct warning. Rather than backing down, Kyle appears completely prepared to let Victor know that retaliation is already underway, signaling that this family war has only just begun. At the same time, another battle unfolds inside Newman Enterprises, where Adam Newman grows increasingly frustrated with his father's ruthless determination to destroy Audra Charles. Ever since Phyllis Summers handed Newman Media over to Billy Abbott, who later folded it into Sally Spectra's growing company, Victor has viewed the business as a target that deserves complete annihilation. Adam, however, cannot ignore the fact that Sally is pregnant, and every attack against her company places tremendous emotional stress on both her and their unborn child. Fearing the devastating possibility of complications or even miscarriage, Adam desperately proposes an alternative strategy that he and Chelsea have carefully developed, asking Victor to give them 6 months to prove their plan can accomplish the same objective without causing so much collateral damage. But Victor, as always, refuses to compromise, delivering a cold ultimatum that perfectly reflects his uncompromising nature. Adam can either accept his terms or walk away entirely, because there will be no negotiations with Victor Newman. The consequences of Victor's decision become immediately apparent when Sally storms in to confront both Adam and Chelsea, convinced they have secretly worked behind her back to sabotage everything she has built. Hurt, angry, and overwhelmed, Sally lashes out at the two people she believes have betrayed her, unaware that Victor himself is the true architect of the attack. Adam now faces an impossible balancing act, desperately trying to protect Sally while simultaneously navigating his father's relentless campaign of destruction. As this emotional storm unfolds, another heartbreaking struggle continues for Nikki Newman, whose world has changed dramatically following surgery that has left both of her eyes covered with bandages. Although the tumor affected only one optic nerve, Nikki remains unable to see, forcing her to confront a frightening new reality where every step is uncertain and every movement requires trust in those around her. Her determination remains admirable, but her vulnerability has never been more visible, creating yet another emotional burden for a family already overwhelmed by conflict, betrayal, and secrets that threaten to consume everyone standing in their path. Jack Abbott's long-awaited reunion with Diane Jenkins finally arrives, bringing a rare moment of warmth into a chapter that has been dominated by fear, violence, and uncertainty. Although the sterile hospital room still serves as a constant reminder of the horrifying attack that nearly claimed his life, Diane's presence immediately changes the atmosphere, filling it with hope instead of despair. Every smile they exchange carries the quiet promise that they have survived the worst together, and now all that remains is for Jack's body to heal enough for him to return to the home and family waiting anxiously for him. Yet even in this comforting reunion, the scars left behind by Patty Williams continue to linger, reminding everyone that emotional wounds often take far longer to heal than physical ones. Jack's recovery is progressing, but the battle surrounding him is far from finished, because outside those hospital walls, Victor Newman continues making decisions that threaten to ignite an even larger war between two of Genoa City's most powerful families. The peace inside Jack's room feels almost sacred, precisely because everyone understands it may not last once the next confrontation begins. Later that same day, Kyle Abbott and Diane remain at Jack's bedside when the hospital doors quietly open to reveal Nikki Newman and Victoria Newman arriving for a visit. Nikki carefully makes her way into the room, her eyes still hidden beneath thick white bandages, a heartbreaking reminder that she too is fighting through an enormous personal crisis. Despite her own suffering, she refuses to let Jack face his recovery alone, choosing instead to sit beside him and offer the comfort of a lifelong friendship that has survived countless storms over the years. As Jack looks toward Nikki, it becomes impossible to ignore the painful truth hanging silently between them. Victor Newman bears responsibility for bringing Patty Williams back into Genoa City, setting into motion the chain of events that nearly destroyed Jack and Diane forever. Whether Jack chooses to speak those words aloud remains uncertain, especially with Victoria standing nearby, because everyone knows Victoria's fierce loyalty to her father leaves little room for criticism, no matter how justified it may be. The emotional tension inside that hospital room grows almost unbearable, with decades of friendship, loyalty, betrayal, and family conflict colliding beneath an uneasy layer of polite conversation. Across town, Victor Newman is dealing with problems of his own, and his frustration explodes into open accusations directed at Nikki. Rather than appreciating her compassion toward Jack during his recovery, Victor views her hospital visit as nothing less than an act of betrayal. His possessiveness and need for absolute loyalty loyalty once again overshadow empathy, leaving Nikki caught between the man she has spent much of her life loving and the lifelong friend who nearly lost everything because of Victor's actions. If Nikki dares to question Victor about Patty or presses him regarding his involvement in bringing her back to Genoa City, the confrontation threatens to become even more explosive. Victor has never tolerated being challenged, particularly by someone as close to him as Nikki, and every difficult question only feeds the anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. Their marriage may still be standing, but the emotional cracks continue widening as secrets, guilt, and stubborn pride push them further toward another dangerous crossroads. While the Newman family wrestles with growing distrust, Kyle takes a bold and calculated step by paying an unexpected visit to Patty Williams inside her GCPD holding cell. Patty immediately reveals her disappointment, admitting that Kyle is not the Abbott family member she had hoped would walk through the door. Her words carry an unsettling mixture of obsession and fantasy, making it painfully obvious that even after everything she has done, her emotional fixation on Jack has never truly disappeared. Kyle wastes little time dwelling on Patty's disappointment because he has come with a mission far more important than satisfying her expectations. Believing Victor Newman manipulated Patty from the shadows, financing her actions, and encouraging her descent into violence, Kyle offers her something that could change both of their futures. He presents the possibility of a deal, one that could reduce her punishment if she finally tells authorities the full truth about Victor's involvement. For Kyle, this is not simply about revenge anymore. It is about exposing the man he believes orchestrated every horrifying event while allowing Patty to become the visible face of the crime. As another day unfolds, Victor's relentless campaign against Audra Charles grows even more aggressive, proving that he has no intention of slowing down despite Adam's warnings or Sally's pregnancy. His true target may be Billy Abbott, but Victor understands that striking Billy's business partners will inflict just as much damage while creating chaos throughout the company. Sally Spectra and Audra Charles suddenly find themselves standing directly in the path of Victor's corporate assault, forced to defend everything they have worked so hard to build. Ironically, Victor's escalating attacks may produce the exact outcome Billy hoped to avoid, because the deeper Victor pushes, the more likely Billy becomes to abandon caution and join Kyle's growing mission for revenge. Jill Abbott, whose financial backing has helped support Audra Charles, could also find herself drawn into the conflict, transforming what began as a personal vendetta into a full-scale business war involving some of Genoa City's most influential power players. Every move Victor makes seems designed to tighten his grip on control, but each new attack also creates another determined enemy willing to fight back. Amid the chaos, Victoria Newman and Claire Newman share a deeply emotional moment as they choose to honor the memory of Cole Howard by naming the new publishing division of Newman Enterprises after him. The tribute carries profound meaning because Cole's death from Legionnaire's disease just over a year earlier left an irreplaceable void in Claire's life, and this gesture ensures his legacy will continue living on through the family business. Even in a world dominated by betrayals and corporate warfare, the heartfelt dedication reminds everyone that love and remembrance still have a place within the Newman family. Yet sorrow continues to cast its shadow elsewhere as Nikki grows increasingly concerned about Nick Newman's emotional stability. The overwhelming pressure surrounding Jack's attack, Victor's manipulations, Nikki's blindness, and the constant family turmoil has placed an enormous burden on Nick, leaving those closest to him fearing that his hard-earned sobriety may once again be at risk. Sharon Newman shares those concerns during a heartfelt conversation with Nick at Crimson Lights, gently checking on him and offering quiet support before his emotional struggles spiral into something far more dangerous. By the end of the week, Victor and Nikki make a commitment to begin a fresh chapter together, but the decision immediately raises difficult questions about the sacrifices required to make that reconciliation possible. Victor has already made his expectations painfully clear, insisting that if Nikki truly wants to rebuild their marriage, she must distance herself from Jack Abbott entirely. For anyone who understands the decades-long friendship between Nikki and Jack, such a demand feels almost impossible to accept, especially after everything Jack has endured because of Victor's actions. If Nikki chooses Victor over her closest friend, the emotional consequences could ripple through every relationship surrounding them. Meanwhile, concern continues growing within the Winters family as Lily Winters and Nate Hastings become increasingly worried about Devin Hamilton's worsening anger issues. Abby had already voiced those fears to Jack earlier, remembering all too well how Devin's uncontrolled rage once destroyed Nate's surgical career after a violent assault, and now those closest to Devin fear history may be preparing to repeat itself once again.